صباح الخير عن جديد، صباح جذور الأرز التي تجمعنا. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this panel, Bilateral Trade, Commerce and Investment panel, tackles the perspective of enhancing bilateral trade between North America and Lebanon, as well as promoting mutual investment opportunities. Our panelists will be Mr. Josh Karam, Executive Director in the Middle East Affairs at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, where he oversees programs and policy initiatives to broaden commercial relationships between the United States and markets in the Middle East. He also advises C-level corporate leaders on public affairs, regulatory, and business development matters. He also served as Deputy Political Director and Foreign Policy Advisor to Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. Our second panelist, Mr. Sam Abu Jawdi, founder and international FMGC broker and consultant, made in Lebanon. He has navigated corporate America for over a quarter of a century and has product distribution, branding, and marketing experience since 1993. He has also been serving for the last 6 years on the advisory board for the mayor of Houston and the Office of New Americans and Immigrant Communities. Our third panelist, Mr. Refika Rajan, founder and CEO of Karajan Importing Company Incorporated. He has established the vision, strategy, and culture that led to the company's stellar reputation as a leader in the import and wholesale distribution of European and Mediterranean food products in the United States from over 40 different countries, including numerous exclusive products. Mr. Philippe Ziede, Chairman and founder of Growth Holdings and Invest to Stay program. He's chairman and CEO of Growth Holdings, a conglomerate of real estate, hospitality, sustainable energy, and technology. He was recognized by the Wall Street Journal's top 100 real estate professionals in the US. He is a frequent keynote speaker at various global finance and investment summits, such as Bloomberg, Japan. And last, our last panelist, Ms. Terry Bitar, founder and president of charity donation Love Bites. She's a registered architect at the Order of Engineers and Architects in Beirut, holding a master's degree of architect from the Lebanese University, where she is currently pursuing her PhD. In parallel to her architectural pursuits, Terry also founded an NGO called Charity Donation, which serves and helps underprivileged and marginalized communities. Our panelists, our moderator ready? Yes, our moderator is Dr. Abdullah Nasruddin, the economic attaché at the Embassy of Lebanon to the US. He received his PhD in economics in 2009 from the University of Kent in the UK and was assistant dean at the Faculty of Business Administration at Beirut Arab University. He lectured at several universities, including the American University of Beirut, University Greenwich, and University of Westminster, and was involved in several economic consulting projects. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for that little delay. I would like to start by thanking His Excellency Minister Gibran Bassil for being with us and attending this session, and our dear Ambassador Gabriel Issa for also attending our session. Actually, that session is particularly important due to the kind of importance of economic relationship between countries, and mainly when we talk about the United States and Lebanon. And one thing that attracted my attention a few weeks ago was that the United States has stopped the list of the countries that Lebanon imports from. So for the first 6 months of 2019, Lebanon has imported from the United States more than any country in the world. And this is ahead of China and ahead of all European countries taken individually. And that reflects somehow the strength of the economic relationship that are sometimes unstoppable. And on the other side, we could see that Lebanon is also exporting to the United States, and there is a lot of added value in Lebanon to export abroad, and that has been growing very slowly. And in that panel, we would like to highlight how we could actually strengthen and foster the economic relationship in terms of trade and investment between the United States and Lebanon. So for that panel, that's why we have on board very experienced and impressive panelists that I'm very thankful that they all joined us today. And we have Mr. Josh Cram, who is the Executive Director at the Middle East Center at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who has been very involved and actually on the daily basis in different policy initiatives related to the Middle East. And we have also Mr. Sam Abu Jawdi, who is actually an expert and a consultant in fast-moving consumer goods. And he has a special love for Lebanon and trying to help manufacturing industry back home. Mr. Refika Rajan, we're very proud of you as well to be with us. Arrived to the United States when he was 17 years old and managed to grow a huge business and selling a huge turnover of Lebanese products in the country. And we have also Mr. Feliz Ziadi, who is a top entrepreneur in the United States, owner, founder of Growth Holdings, and has brilliant initiative of Invest to Stay related to the diaspora. And finally, Mr. Terry Bitar, very ambitious and charity, and has established charity donation, trying to think also of the unprivileged and marginalized people and bring them in the economic cycle. I'm not going to take more time of that. I will start straight away here with Mr. Josh. Josh, I would like to, probably we could start by trying to see, as we discussed before, of the different avenues, the economic avenues we could tap on together in order to help both countries to work more together. Our Lebanese businesses, in your capacity at the U.S. Chamber, with all your connection, all the businesses, how we could do that.
Thanks, Abdallah. It's great to be here. I'm honored to be here. Great to see you, Ambassador Issa, and Foreign Minister Basile. Very nice to be in your presence. I think it's great that Abdallah is here at the embassy here in Lebanon. He's got unbelievable experience, and frankly, it shows a real interest and a demonstrable will for the Lebanese embassy to really upgrade and do more with the U.S. when it comes to thinking through sort of economic and commercial potential. So I think you're, Abdallah, a great asset here in Washington, and look forward to continuing to work together. So, over the past few years, I've gotten to know Ambassador Issa, and through him and through his team, have learned more about Lebanon and tremendous economic potential in a robust relationship with the United States. Let me give you just a snapshot of who we are and what the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is all about. You may see the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in the news on domestic issues representing business interests, on immigration, on tax reform. But the Chamber is the largest business organization in the world. So we represent millions of companies all over the country, and we help our government and foreign governments all over the world understand the issues that impact business. Issues like, how do we promote trade agreements to level playing fields and open markets? And how do we get our government here in the U.S. to invest in infrastructure and roads and bridges and mass transit to drive economic growth? And how do we put into place policies that encourage and build innovative companies? I think that's critical to ensure that America remains the most competitive country in the world. And for U.S. companies, 95% of customers are overseas. So international trade and foreign potential is huge for U.S. companies. And of course, America is open for business, new products, innovative ideas, investments, and I think there's really no better example of a community that has succeeded in bringing ideas and talent and products here is the Lebanese diaspora. So in our international vision at the Chamber, we have dozens of bilateral business councils, working groups, programs that focus on strengthening and advancing the trade and investment relationship between the U.S. and critical markets overseas. We work with companies that are engaged in these markets and offer a unified voice to our government and foreign governments about what's working, frankly, and what's not working in our bilateral commercial relationship. What regulatory issues or market access issues are getting in the way of the free flow of goods and services? How can we overcome these things? This is an important dialogue, and I think it's important to have an ongoing dialogue between companies and governments to talk about how to create the best investment climate for foreign companies, U.S. companies, and how, frankly, the United States could strengthen its hand at being the best place where foreign companies invest. So we've hosted the ambassador several times. We've hosted ministers when they come through from Lebanon to Washington. And clearly there's opportunities both ways. And I know my colleagues up here are going to talk about those really specifically. But there's, Lebanon has a world-class banking sector, some of the region's most innovative companies and entrepreneurs. The food and wine from Lebanon, of course, is among the best in the world. So really, what can we do, and how can we as the U.S. Chamber or interested businesses here and in Lebanon, what can we do to strengthen the overall trading and investment environment? So one, I have three ideas, but really I'm here to learn. I'm here to hear from the esteemed panel up here and from you about where there are challenges and where there may be opportunities. But first, and this may seem very obvious at a Lebanese diaspora conference, is how do we leverage the diaspora community here to be champions and ambassadors of the trade and investment relationship in the United States with the Lebanese Republic. Clearly the Lebanese American diaspora is notorious, active, plugged in, but how do we form something, a structural being, like a U.S. Lebanon Business Council? How would we identify, as we discussed, and this is something that we're thinking through, what are the policies, what are the initiatives that would strengthen trade and investment between the U.S. and Lebanon, and how do we form something as sort of an ongoing platform to take this forward? So can this community set up a mechanism for ongoing engagement that would help educate U.S. policymakers, U.S. business leaders about the opportunities in Lebanon and make it easier to transact and to connect? We run a range of programs across the Middle East that support bilateral relationship. Each market is different. The issues that each market faces are different. The stakeholders are different. But what's important, I believe, is a consistent ongoing tool for engagement between the private sector and both governments on issues of public policy and projects in sort of the bilateral commercial relationship. And I'm not aware that any structure exists like that for U.S. Lebanese business, so I think there's an opportunity there. Two, I would say we have to think about the U.S. Lebanon trade fundamentals. So the U.S. and Lebanon in 2006 signed a trade and investment framework agreement called TIFA, which is a general process, consultative process with the U.S. Trade Representative to look at trade and investment matters. And I think most importantly in the TIFA process is that it sets up a body and a process where the two governments get together in a form of a council and they talk about issues. And they figure out what is the next issue that we're going to address, how are we going to address it, and when are we going to address it. That's really important. And I think, there's a lot of discussions on market access, labor, environment, enforcement of intellectual property rights, but those conversations should continue, and we want to encourage those conversations and the two governments to come together and further those conversations so that there is a more robust dialogue between the two governments on trade. I know there's also been discussions going back about a decade about Lebanon acceding to the World Trade Organization, which of course our government and the EU also would support as a sort of multilateral trading body. And I think there's obviously complications, and it's tough to make systematic structural reforms overnight and have legislation to lower trade barriers in Lebanon. There's a lot of things that have to take place, but that I think is an interesting benchmark that would create opportunities in the overall relationship with the U.S. Third, I would say, is let's figure out what sectors we can drive activities. My colleagues are going to talk about a range of sectors, food
exactly.
sector and otherwise. But I would say one sector in particular that I know members of the chamber and the U.S. business community are interested in is the energy sector. I know there was a whole panel on that yesterday, so I'm not going to go into that. But I think, you know, in our work at the chamber, we've been working with private sector companies that have had incredible finds all across the Eastern Mediterranean, some of those that are going online right now. What it's doing is dropping energy costs, it's contributing to economic growth, and I'm certain, I'm no geologist, but I'm certain Lebanon has finds off the coast of the Eastern Med, and that to me is a huge opportunity for economic growth and development. Obviously, there has to be a lot done in the legal and regulatory framework on that side, but that's an area that I think we're interested in engaging in, and I think there's huge opportunity in Lebanon.
Well, Josh, thank you very much for your concrete kind of suggestions you have, the 3 points you mentioned. We'll definitely work on probably in the next year together. And Sam, sorry, Rafi, we'll move to Rafi to, based on his very experience over the probably last 30 years, even more in the United States, the sector of distributing Lebanese goods and others. If you could tell us a little bit more about that market and what potential Lebanese businesses have in that market today.
Well, my name is Refika Rajan, born in Lebanon, immigrated to the States, to Los Angeles, 1978. And I want to start with a little joke, as Americans do. Lebanese people, when we talk with friends, they have 2 hearts because we like to live good life and never die. So I left one of my hearts in Lebanon and I brought the other one to US so that when I go, I never forget my Lebanese heritage, and I like to go back 2-3 times a year to Lebanon and enjoy the culture, friends, relatives, and the people. Okay. Starting with food business, I started my company at very young age while I was in university in 1980. Today we have over 100 employees. We distribute products all over the United States. We started my first container from Lebanon. I mean, it was obvious as Lebanese. And I don't want to advertise the company, but it was Cortaz Products, the hummus. When Americans, they didn't know what hummus was, or baba ganoush. We started this product in the United States in 1980. I would like to say that Lebanon has a preferred status in the United States. We have no duties on Lebanese products, food products, from Lebanon.
And that is probably under the generalized system of preferences.
It's called generalized, standardized preferences, which is Lebanon is part of it as a developing country. And that's why they give assistance. That's by the US Customs to give assistance to Lebanese companies to protect and energize and support their exports to the United States, part of their assistance. We have 2 types of markets in the United States. We have the ethnic market and we have the American mainstream market. The ethnic market is much easier to work with. Very simple. They're Arabs, Greeks, Iranians, Indians, Russians, East Europeans, that they're very easy to get into, and all our products are selling very well. Lebanese products are well known in those markets. But that's a limited market. I mean, the growth there is growth with immigration, but it's limited, saturated. I would like to talk about the mainstream market, which is the American supermarket. And we call it the sky is the limit. When we have our products in supermarkets, That's where you can grow by thousands of percent, millions of dollars. And Lebanese exports are very important to start thinking about mainstream American markets. How do you do that? First of all, modernization of the factories in Lebanon. I mean, you cannot do anymore. The whole world, it's not only US is changing, but the whole world. Europe.
Probably if I can just probably tap on something here about, probably if you could quickly wrap up something about the dynamics that have, how did that market change over the last 10 years? I mean, is still Lebanon and Lebanese firms very competitive with the United States when we compare them to other countries around in the Middle Eastern region?
Well, there is
the
progress.
United States specifically.
There is progress, but we are much behind. It's very important. There is progress. The younger generation in Lebanon, they do recognize it with their travels, participating at food shows, international food shows. I mean, I see big progress in Lebanon, but still it's not enough. We're not as competitive as the Italians, the Spanish, or the Greeks. It's all Mediterranean or Southern Mediterranean or Eastern Mediterranean product that, Lebanon, they have a long way to go. And we are trying to help them with our experience, what the US market needs from them. So the mainstream buyers, they're looking for clean product that they can rely on it. Lawsuits in the US is a big problem, everybody knows. Poisoning or adulteration of the products is very important. So the first thing the American buyer is asking, where is the product made? How is it made? Do you have the certifications of BRC, for example, which is British Retail Consortium, which is very strict.
And this is probably what Sam is on board. He's going to tap into that now.
The certificates are very important, HACCP certificate and ISOs and so on. So I'm going to jump so Sam could elaborate more on that.
Yeah.
The FDA is getting more and more strict. They have this program called FSVP, which is Foreign Suppliers Verification Program. We have to verify the suppliers in foreign countries whether they abide by the FDA rules. So that's very important. That's our job to make sure that the companies we work with, they are satisfying the FDA regulations, whether it's bioterrorism, sanitation, and all this modernization of their product. That's very important. I'm going to come to trend. What is the trend? Food trend. American people are looking for fresh products. Canned food is dying. Fresh food, easy to eat, simple, ready to eat. You don't have to cook, but delicious, without preservatives. They're looking for, the gluten-free, vegan, organic products. That's going to be the future of our markets. Packaging is very important. The description is very important on the package. We don't want crowded packaging. It has to be specifically to the consumer, will be very obvious what they're buying and what the product is. I will ask that, protein and so on is becoming, more protein, less carb. That's the future also. I believe that value-added product is very important. I know that Lebanon is a small country, but we can bring ingredients or raw material from neighboring countries, add value to the products, make a better product, and export. So that's also a business that Lebanese companies could benefit from. Because, we have a small agricultural land compared to Turkey. Bring product from Turkey, made it in Lebanon, and sell it. By the way, it's important to say that Turkey lost its preference status in the United States because of political situation. U.S., they took it away because Turkey bought some missiles from Russia, unfortunately, so it should be a good point to Lebanon. So my last recommendation will be to open an office.
So Sam, the fast moving consumer goods market in the United States, you always passionate about trying to help, to think of a way to allow probably to help Lebanese manufacturing industries to be able to make its way to the American markets through some of a very interesting initiative you told me about. I don't know if you could probably talk about a little bit the challenges of those products in Lebanon and how to get there.
Thank you, Abdullah. Thank you, everyone. Before I start with the challenges, I would like to share a couple quotes that were published by the Washington Post, and I'm sure everybody knows the Washington Post. In 2018, they said, when it comes to Arab cuisine, there is no doubt that Lebanese cuisine is the most recognized internationally and the most mouth-watering. Then later in the year, they published that Lebanon is drowning in its own waste. So we're getting free advertisement that we have great food, but then on the other hand, we have this negative advertisement. And that scares a lot of the mainstream retailers in this country. And because of lack of standards and trusted certificates, and the mainstream not understanding the laws in Lebanon and how we do things, it's making them skeptical about buying the products. And as Mr. Karajan said, now with the new regulations, the FDA can send their agents to Lebanon to inspect the factory. And if we tell them no, they will shut you down. Not shut you down in Lebanon, they will stop you from exporting to the US. And these rules and regulations started with Obama, and now they are really being enforced with our current President Trump. So lack of standardization is a big problem. Lack of trust, it's another problem. And not having the right certificates, it's another problem. Today, most of our certifications in Lebanon are very entry level. Entry level, what we call is ISO 2200. Having an ISO 2200 in the mainstream market is like having a high school diploma and trying to get a corporate job in America. It doesn't work. If you want to play in the mainstream world, you have to have better certifications. And again, as Mr. Karajan said, you need to have certifications like AIB, BRC. These are certifications that are recognized worldwide, and they are available in the US, in Lebanon today. So this is why I'm proposing a program called Lebanese Manufacturing Modernization Program. This program will help the Lebanese industry get on the fast track to start exporting to the US. So these are the challenges we face today.
I don't know if you could just very briefly, Sam, if you may, like in 2 minutes, tell us a little bit more concretely about the program you're talking about, how concretely this could have happened, but as brief as you can, please.
Absolutely, I would love to. This program actually is not just a program. It's a vehicle. It's a roadmap that will help the Lebanese industry get their products to the US. It will give them international exposure. It will build the trust in our manufacturing. It's a tiered program. It's easy to do or accomplish or follow. It's different parts. If you accomplish part one in the program, you will achieve a silver status, and you will promote it as such as silver status. If you finish part two, you'll get to the gold level. If you finish the whole program, which is obtaining the BRC or something similar, you become a platinum manufacturer. And through proper media, and we have a lot of good media in Lebanon and in the US, if we use the channels very well, we can promote these companies. Now, our Excellency Basil worked very hard on putting a body of commerce attaches to go out in the world and talk about what Lebanon can do and how we can increase the economy or help the economy. And today, we need to give them the information. I mean, these attaches need to know which company can export and which company cannot, because you cannot take a chance with mainstream. You can make one mistake with mainstream, but you cannot, maybe if they like you, they give you a second chance. So this is why it's important to put something like this in place so we can help the economy and build the trust needed to start exporting to the US. And the exposure that they will get is amazing. And by the way, this is not a mandatory program. If you want to start exporting to the US, you should participate. And what I'm trying to do with this program, I want every manufacturer in Lebanon that is ready to produce a product tomorrow to start thinking, okay, can I export this product? Yes. Well, I need to start building my facility to meet these standards so I don't have to be stuck with all the regulations. Today, I represent some of the big companies in Lebanon. They are very well entities, and I don't want to mention their names. It takes me 9 months to 1 year to finish their certifications.
And that's
This is
actually,
money
that's
spending.
probably one of the things when you were explaining earlier, when we were talking, that instead of thinking of establishing a manufacturing industry in Lebanon, exporting, is to start to think the other way around. What do the United States need in terms of certification? Based on that, establish the manufacturing industry. I will have to interrupt you, sorry Sam.
No, it's okay.
I'll have to move to Mr. Philip Ziedi, actually owner, founder of Growth Holdings. I don't know if you could tell us a little bit about your initiative also in terms of, I know you're very, your last initiative in terms of talent pool and trying to think of that way, you know, that heartbreaking problem we have in Lebanon in terms of youth unemployment. And this is where actually he stepped in, and I think he's making a big difference.
Yes, we believe in investing in human capital and human talent. But let me start by telling you who I am really. I want to tell everybody. I am finally, with all my experience in Lebanon, I became a farmer. A real farmer. I know you like farming. A farmer, what does a farmer do? You plant the seed, then you cultivate the seed, right, to produce fruit. That's what we do. So what I'm doing is we're planting the seed of hope, the seed of inspiration, the seed of what's possible, what can be possible for the youth in Lebanon. We're cultivating that seed by implementing programs and initiatives, and most importantly, by creating opportunity. And I can tell you the fruit we will bear is success and added value from the Lebanese people to the world. So I want to invite everyone to become a farmer. Whoever is not afraid to get their hands dirty, let's plant the seed of hope, and cultivate so we can show the world what we can do. So we basically, if I want to summarize what we're doing, we're really investing in our people for them to stay in Lebanon. And what we do is we take our projects and we have partnerships with world-class companies like Tesla and Airbnb, and we're developing communities with them, and we're developing also technology. So what we do, we break down these projects into tasks, smaller tasks, and we give every task a budget of how much it's going to cost us in the US. Then we take that budget and we deduct from it the profit we want to make, okay? And then we develop courses that we send to the Lebanese universities. We gave these courses to the teachers, and now they teach the students the courses. Once they finish, they get a certification, and now they can work on our projects. When they do the project, execute, develop, test it, and deliver it, once it's approved, we wire the money to the university. And that money goes as a credit towards the student's tuition and to the teacher. By doing that, we are empowering the youth. And youth empowerment for us brings with it innovative thinking, brings with it vision, enthusiasm, and terrific creativity. So we're benefiting from it. And this is what we need to look at. We need to see how can we gainfully employ our youth. Gainfully, we need to make money. If we do not make money, our ecosystem will not survive, will not be sustainable. So we need to gainfully employ them. It doesn't matter how much money we send them. It doesn't matter how much real estate we buy. It doesn't matter how much money we deposit in the bank. If we do not create a viable opportunity that is based on a formula that creates perpetual value for both the donor and the receiver, it will not survive. And that's what I want to invite every expat and immigrant, successful businessman, to see how we're making money in Lebanon. No, you can invest, and we're making money today. We're benefiting from it, as well as the country. And you're creating the basis for the future for these international companies to see us, to see that we are very advanced in all these technologies, and we have the talent to support that. As well, what I want to say about, because this panel is about bilateral trade, and I want to tell you the way I see it. I see it as it's a tunnel between the US and Lebanon, but that tunnel, we can send through that tunnel the opportunity, the technology, and the know-how for the Lebanese youth. But then I don't see it just a tunnel back to the US, I can see it a tunnel back to the world. We can be that economic pipeline between Lebanon and the world. And that's what we need to look at. We need to also think of strategically. You know, Lebanon today has no national strategy about sustainable development, nor a national economic plan, nor a poverty reduction strategy. We have nothing. It's on us. It's on us as expats to do what we're trying to do. And what we're doing is independent of the economy. It's independent of the politics. It's directly between us and the universities and dealing with the students. And that gives them a lot of hope. Thank you.
Last and not least, with Terry, with your success story, and not to forget, the youth and employment with Philippe, the marginalized, unprivileged people. Terry, you could tell us a little bit about your charity and what you do and how you're trying to bring that charity into the cycle of trade and think a bit more inclusively when it comes to growth.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Minister, I'm so happy to see you. Seriously, I was talking to your assistant yesterday, telling her that we'd love to share my thoughts. And be it's such an honor, and Ambassador too. Thank you, everyone, for sitting and listening to us. Actually, I took the time today to write a couple of words because I have a lot to say, but I want to say something that is on point. So I'm going to read you something, but trust me, every word means. I need 2 minutes. I need you to concentrate with me and to see how us Lebanese, we're still in Lebanon, we're based in Lebanon, and we're doing a huge difference. We live in a most interesting era in human history, commemorated by the accelerated change and overwhelming complexity. We live the offline world, the mobile phones, the smart devices, the all-day connectivity. We are at a pivot point where changes in the upcoming 10 years will surpass the past 10. Changes are exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. However, anything that cannot be digitized and automated will become extremely valuable. We live in a world where everything is connected. Everything is equally excellent. Performance is reaching excellence. Thus, there is only one space for us to innovate. It's in the human. It's in the person. He is the central of the change. Let's go beyond technology. Let us invent and see the human insights. I'm going to tell you about my story. And sorry, the lights and everything, I'm overwhelmed. I'm a young Lebanese, and I'm 28. I'm an architect by profession. I'm doing a PhD in renewables. And actually, I was a GPA 4.0, and I felt that there's something missing in my life when I was at the university. I wanted to give back to society. I started doing initiatives in helping the poor. Gathered around some stuff, giving them to the poor. Everyone was talking about me. This girl, she's doing something out of it. But seriously, no one knows that these poor people and the underprivileged are a main part of society. And in Lebanon, in our situation right now, these poor are more than 40%. You see poverty everywhere, and it's like disguised. You cannot know how much the situation is horrible. And this whole poverty thing, it caught my attention, and it caught my heart as well. I finished my degree, started my PhD, and I'm tackling the issue of renewable energy and how it could be a solution to eradicate poverty. With all this, I came to notice something. I've been in this for 5 years. I noticed that poverty cannot be overcome if we keep on giving stuff to the poor. They will not overcome it. Actually, you have to push them to go back into the economic system. This year, in 2019, after 5 years of hard work, charity, we said we're going to go into the job creation. We gathered around some elderly ladies, in remote areas in Lebanon. We told them, oh, you have no one to take care of you. You need a lot of help. We're going to do workshops, very simplistic stuff. And you're going to do some food. The guys here, they all talk about the Lebanese cuisine, and we know it. And I'm from Zahle, so like the Lebanese gastronomy is the it thing over there. So it's like, okay, great, let us do some za'atar. Za'atar, who doesn't like za'atar? And this is how we started. We did some za'atar. To my knowledge, I thought that this project will help like 5 persons. I thought it will be something like very simple, and I will put it on the CV of the charity. But this project started in actually February. We started with 5 persons, and then it went heads over heels. The malls were calling us, everyone wanted us, and now we have 35 employees. I'm no businesswoman, I'm just a young person, and I'm trying to help. What I'm trying now to tell you is not to impress you, but to impress upon you, because I really want to tell you, Lebanon needs you. Lebanon needs its people. We need you to think about the human aspect. It's not all business. Even if you created the most money and there's someone in this country that is left behind, he will create problems. I presume we should think about everyone. And if we think it this inclusive way, everyone will be a winner. I'm not saying that this project will be the center of attention of businessmen. Don't take it very direct, but why not taking it into consideration? I was just giving options and ideas to the people about it. See, I presume a bunch of you are business people. Why not thinking of such projects as your corporate giftings? You will help these people. You will help put food on their tables. So trust me, at the end, us Lebanese, thinking about commerce, it's amazing. Thinking about opportunities, it's even more amazing. But trust me, some simple things have to be done. We really need to think about these very poor people that needs a bit of push, a bit of love to be on top and to go beyond everything. And thank you.
I will not have enough time to wrap it up. I will take just 30 seconds to thank Josh for the 3 brilliant initiatives you talked about that we will work on in the future. And I will also thank Rafi for tapping on those challenges in the U.S. market, and actually on your suggestion about value-added industries in Lebanon and how to do that in a more concrete way. And Sam, also for your excellent program that I wish you all the best. I'm sure we'll be working together on the Lebanese Manufacturing Modernization Act. And Philippe, thank you very much also for actually very creative way of thinking of making money by helping the youth in Lebanon. That's actually gives a lot of hope to many people in Lebanon. And Terry, also thank you for that great initiative, for telling us about. Wish you all the best. And thank you everyone for staying with us.